I decided to put my face to a video today. Everybody knows how committed I am to talking out or speaking out on Palestine, and I'm sure most people that are close to me have either muted me or they've had enough, and that's fine. But where I come from on this issue really is connected to the history of kind of what made me who I am. And from a very young age, I was interested in human rights and the kind of abuses that have taken place all over the world. One of the first projects I did in junior high was on Vietnam, and I've had a chance since then to travel to Vietnam, which has been great. But right in high school, many classes or many projects I did on the Holocaust, and we were so fortunate that I had a chance to go to a screening of Schindler's List with a Holocaust survivor, and her words at the end of that have always stuck in the back of my mind. And she said, "Never again means never again for anyone, anywhere." And you have to use your voice, especially if you're able to use your voice, to speak out against abuses that you've seen, because we would all want the same thing to happen to us if our human rights and our lives and the lives of our families were being threatened. I became so interested in Palestine specifically when I went and had a chance to live in South Africa. I was there for almost 2 years, and many of the people I knew or worked with had come through the political apartheid system. And in that system, many of them were jailed for many, many years for being political prisoners and for speaking out. And I had a certain naivety to the fact that Israel, for me, had always been a logical conclusion to the end of the Holocaust. It was a safe haven, a place for Jewish folks to go where they could finally live in peace and not face constant danger. What I didn't realize, and somebody appropriately started to point it out in South Africa, was Israel wasn't created as a land without people for a people without land. People have always been there. People have been there for hundreds and thousands of years. And so I became interested in Palestine because that was the interest of the people that I started to look up to in South Africa. And many of them had started solidarity groups almost immediately around the time that apartheid for them was ending. And many of them saw the apartheid in Palestine as being even worse than the way they felt they were treated. And since my South Africa experience, I've been very interested in traveling, but all my traveling has generally been around learning more or paying my respects to some terrible human rights abuse that has taken place somewhere. That includes Northern Ireland and the apartheid system that used to exist between Catholics and Protestants there. That's included Palestine itself and going to Palestine and Israel. It's included Bosnia, including Sarajevo and to sites where genocides have taken place there. And the difference with all those issues, even though that a lot of them are in different stages of kind of reconciliation after those things had taken place, the difference is around the world. If you're in a different country, there would be no pressure not to speak on those kinds of issues. You could speak and had freedom of speech on everything. Palestine's always been a little bit differently, and it's always been the kind of issue that no matter what country you're from in the world, thou shalt not speak out against Israel. Otherwise, you risk your livelihood, you risk credibility, you risk all of that, because it's all been conflated with anti-Semitism. And many Jewish folks believe that their religion has now been weaponized, and the horrors of the Holocaust have been weaponized as a way to protect Israel from some of the same abuses that Jewish people went through decades ago are now being inflicted on Palestinians. This video is a quick way for me to kind of show that a little brief part of that history, but ultimately to pay obviously not only respect to Palestinians, who deserve it and deserve freedom, but to really pay respect and for Jewish leaders that are going against the grain and trying to make sure that that never again is never again for everybody. And
Gaza and the West Bank come under Israeli occupation. In 1948, during the first Arab-Israeli war, an estimated 700,000 Palestinians fled or were pushed out of their homes. They called this the Nakba, the catastrophe. In 1949, a truce agreement carved up territory between Israel and Arab states. But there was no new state for the Palestinians who had been displaced. Most were left in one of two areas, the West Bank, controlled by Jordan, or Gaza, controlled by Egypt. The conditions in Gaza were dire. Under Egyptian military rule, Palestinians weren't allowed into Egypt. nor could they enter Israel. They were, in effect, trapped. Then, in 1967, during the Six-Day War, the West Bank and Gaza were taken by the Israeli military, marking the start of the Israeli occupation. The 1990s saw the start of a peace process which might have brought that occupation to an end, but it stalled. Today, Palestinians living in the West Bank have autonomy in big cities and towns, but are surrounded by Jewish settlements and are cut off by Israel's security barrier, while the 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza remain effectively locked away.
Just released a documentary on Israeli war crimes based in part on social media posts from Israeli soldiers themselves. The documentary begins with the Palestinian novelist Susan Abu Khawa, as well as footage of the Al-Awda school massacre in July when Israeli troops killed at least 31 people at a school sheltering displaced Palestinians. The moment the bomb exploded was captured on video by someone recording a youth soccer game in the Al-Awda school courtyard.
They are conducting a genocide now with glee. They're setting their atrocities to music and putting them on catchy reels on TikTok. Ordinary Israelis see what their military is doing and celebrate it.
A crowd is singing "May Your Village Burn."
It's not just fringe elements who see this and think it's a good thing.
13,319 children have been killed in Gaza, of whom 786 were under the age of 1. And in addition, 165 children have been killed in the West Bank. Now, that's the only statistic I want to give you.
Do you believe that Israel has a right to exist?
Israel does exist. Israel is a recognized member of the United Nations. Besides this, there is not such a thing in international law like a right of a state to exist. Does Italy has a right to exist? Italy exists. Now, if tomorrow Italy and France want to merge and become Ita France, fine. This is not up to us. What is enshrined in international law is the right of a people to exist. So the state is there, the state of Israel is there, is protected as a member of the United Nations. Does this justify the erasure of another people? Hell no. Not 75 years ago, not 57 years ago, surely not today. Where is the protection of the Palestinian people from erasure, from annexation, from illegal occupation and apartheid? This is what we need to discuss.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea!
I had the privilege of participating in the roundtable convened by the Committee on Education and the Workforce, focused on the scourge of anti-Semitism on campuses across America.
We need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism with no repercussion.
In America that you'd be concerned?
No. No, I don't think about it. It's not.
You don't have to think about it. Your face
this
says
one,
it.
I have family. Yeah, exactly. So I would have seen it then. So I go out. I travel all the time for work. I'm all over this country. My face is, hey, there's a Jew. You think I would have heard one thing in real life? I'm telling you, I'm out there testing it. It's not there. It's just online. You just got to shut that laptop and walk outside. Everything's pretty fucking great. Oh, it's so hard to be a white guy right now. No, it's not. It's fucking great.
How would you respond to the charge that anti-Zionism is the new anti-Semitism?
The best formulation of this was by an ambassador to the United Nations, Abba Eban, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, State of Israel. He advised the American Jewish community that they had two tasks to perform. One task was to show that criticism of the policy, what he called anti-Zionism, that means actually criticisms of the policy of the State of Israel, were anti-Semitism. That's the first task. Second task, if the criticism was made by Jews, their task was to show that it's neurotic self-hatred, needs psychiatric treatment. And he gave two examples of the latter category. One was I.F. Stone, the other was me. So we have to be treated for our psychiatric disorders, and non-Jews have to be condemned for anti-Semitism if they're critical of the State of Israel. It's understandable why Israeli propaganda would take this position.
Often when there is dissent expressed in the United States against policies of the Israeli government, people here are called anti-Semitic. What is your response to that as an Israeli Jew?
Well, it's a trick. We always use it. When from Europe somebody is criticizing Israel, then we bring up the Holocaust. When in this country people are criticizing Israel, then they are anti-Semitic. And the organization is strong and has a lot of money, and the ties between Israel and the American Jewish establishment are very strong, and they are strong in this country. As you know, they have power, which it's okay. They are talented people, and they have power, money, and media, and other things. And their attitude is Israel, my country, right or wrong, the identification. And they are not ready to hear criticism. And it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics, and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people, and that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
Zionism thrives off of anti-Semitism. Zionist organizations rely on anti-Semitism to pay their bills. Look at the Anti-Defamation League. Without anti-Semitism, which they constantly inflate to the point where over 50% of their documented anti-Semitic incidents since October 7th are simply pro-Palestine rallies, peace rallies, it's pretty obvious that they need anti-Semitism to exist. And so Israel is actually an engine of anti-Semitism. So I see Zionism as a kind of cult that is not only hostile to Muslims and Christians that live within its realm, but to Jews who live across the world and want to just be normal Jews here.
It's my central concern regarding the future of the American Jewish community. And I say to all of our young people, not only you who are with us, but those who may perhaps watch this online at some point, I love your generation. I think you're amazing.
But
our future. as your teachers, educators, rabbis, and moral guides, know that we tried to instill in you a sense of justice, righteousness, virtue, honor, rectitude, honesty, and decency for all people. We are proud when your generation is active in pursuance of these values. And if these ideals lead you to be critics of Israeli policies or the American Jewish community, so be it. What we did not intend is for your generation to turn your backs on our people. We wanted you to be Zionists. We did not intend that our emphasis on tikkun olam, social repair, would lead some Jews to join anti-Israel demonstrations. We did not intend for American Jews to lead Passover Seders in so-called liberated zones, liberated from Zionists, that violate not only university policies, but threaten the safety of Jewish students. We did not intend to encourage or excuse Jews who burn American flags or support those who do.
What a complete meltdown.
This is hopefully the last gasp of that generation and its hold over the Jewish community. It should be, at least.
Let's be clear about a few things. Anti-Semitism should have no place in America, not on college campuses or anywhere else. But there is nothing inherently anti-Semitic about condemning the ongoing bloodshed in Gaza that has killed 34,000 people, mostly women and children. Protesting this slaughter is not hate speech. It's what should be done on a college campus, taking a stand against a perceived wrong, at least provoking discussion and debate. The mission of a university is to coach students how to learn, not tell them what to think. Peaceful demonstrations should be encouraged, not shut down. And having armed police arrest peaceful student demonstrators is never acceptable.
Imagine a response is to something if people perceive anti-Semitism in
what
Kyrie Irving posts or what Kanye says or what Dave said on Saturday night. What do you think a good response would be?
I think just reflexively naming things anti-Semitism is as reductive as some of the things that they might be saying. It immediately shuts down a conversation. Dave said something in the SNL monologue that I thought was instructive as well, which he says it shouldn't be this hard to talk about things. And that is what we're talking about. Look, I'm called anti-Semitic because I'm against Israel's treatment of Palestinians. I'm called other things from other people based on other opinions that I have. But those shut down debate. If we don't have the wherewithal to meet each other with what's reality, then how do we move forward?
I don't think you would dare go in there whilst those marches. And it's not.
That's not true. I go on the marches. I'm Jewish. There are lots of Jewish people on those marches.
But it's not.
A lot of the reason why people.
Excuse me. It's not that it's a one-off. It's that it's literally every weekend. And there are many Jewish people I know who won't go into central London.
So there are two things. The reason why the protests are every weekend is because the destruction of Gaza continues every day. And part of the reason, to protest, yes, of course, that's correct.
Part of the reason those protests a no-go zone for Jewish people.
They're not a no-go zone. They are not.
Are you Jewish?
I am Jewish.
You don't feel unsafe, but there are many who do, and the majority.
Because we are told constantly from this channel and from all newspapers and so on and so forth that these are frightening places for Jewish people. I can tell you, having been on many of these marches with many Jewish people, they are not frightening at all for Jewish people. They are not. We are told that they are, and of course, if you're told that central London is a no-go zone for you, that is frightening. So you will stay in your homes. That's not because it actually is.
Why is the mainstream media hiding the fact that thousands upon thousands of Jews have joined together with pro-Palestinian protests to say enough is enough, end this war, end the killing? I find this fascinating. The mainstream media wants you to believe that all Jews are fine with the destruction of Gaza and they are going after Hamas because of what happened on October 7th, and everyone is unified. They won't even show you really the protests in Israel out in front of Benjamin Netanyahu's offices, and that everyone is going to these protests, by the way, are all pro-Hamas. So everyone going to these protests are terrorists. Why do you think they're portraying it this way?
True to the Torah, around the world have always been opposed to Zionism, to the state of Israel, because it's antithetical to our belief to have a Jewish state at all. Now that the state of Israel has been created in 1948 in Palestine by occupying another people's land, oppressing the entire people, and the continuation of killing and stealing the land is in total violation of not only human rights violations and international norms, but it also goes against the very basics of Jewish belief. So we
You've made a speech. So you are on the arrest and terrorism.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
What was the hate
Against
speech?
what?
Somebody else, probably. Not in this demonstration.
Crazy.
So you don't have to say anything. Get no harm, no defence. Plain and mention question. Something
Crazy. You're crazy.
So maybe giving evidence.
What has he said? What has he said? You may have the wrong person. You may have the wrong individual.
Stand back, please. Look, guys, just stand across here so that he can go.
Shame on you!
Stand across
You
here.
arrested a Jewish man!
As a Jewish American artist working in a time-based medium, I must note I'm accepting this award on the 336th day of Israel's genocide in Gaza and 76th year of occupation. I believe it is our responsibility as film workers to use the institutional platforms through which we work to redress Israel's impunity on the global stage. I stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine in their struggle for liberation.
I also think that as a Jewish person, I was fed a huge amount of lies about Israel
Me
my
too.
entire
Your entire life.
you know?
Yeah.
They never tell you that, oh, by the way, there were people there. They make it seem like it was just they're sitting there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
the doors open.
Hours for the taking.
It literally, they forget to include the fact to every young Jewish person, basically, oh, by the way, there were people there. It'd be nice to live somewhere that was not a part of the Christian apocalyptic prophecy. It is also probably a good idea. It's maybe settle somewhere that the Christians don't think you all have to die in order for the
Yeah, and then they want us all to go there. They need a certain number
They
of
need
Jews.
us to go there so we can die, so the apocalypse.
But could you imagine living in Israel? Would you ever go live in Israel?
No.
We Holocaust survivors and descendants are warmly welcomed by these great marches, and we share our solidarity with the sufferings of the Palestinian people. And so, at the same time, we oppose and disprove the other false claim that these great marches are no-go areas for Jews.
Knows that. And I must tell you, even today, after 75 years of killing, 75 years of occupation, 75 years of blood, yes, go in any Muslim country, they are welcoming Jews. Any Muslim country, Morocco, Algeria, Tunis, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, everywhere you go, they're welcoming Jews. I myself, I was in Morocco. I must tell you, I didn't believe what I saw. I just passing the border from Spain into Morocco. Straight over the border. Muslim people come to me, Rabbi, please bless my children. I couldn't believe it. After 70 years of bloodshed.
I mean, the Israelis invaded somebody else's territory. They took people's homes, and they did many of the things that the Nazis did. And now they're really doing it. You can't be more evil than what they're doing. They are doing evil that is just as great as what the Nazis did. And in some ways it's worse because they kind of boast about it. For some reason, Hitler didn't want people to know he was doing these things to the Jews. The Israelis are almost proud of it, and it's demonically evil. And anybody who doesn't recognize that it's evil, I can't probably communicate with that person. I don't know.
Where? Israel. Cool. Where in Palestine are you from?
any other country.
Israel.
Where?
Here, Israel.
Where in Israel?
Right here. Yeah,
This is not Israel here, sir. I'm from right here in Israel. Wow, no wonder why there's so much conflict with Palestine. Like, yeah, everywhere we go is Israel. Doesn't matter. We build settlements down here. Yeah, that's Israel. We take a plane to New York. Hey, that's Israel too. Okay? Wherever we go, Israel. Okay.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
This is a delicate moment. That's the Anti-Defamation League. It's a group that monitors anti-Semitic hate. This is a new day, and yet so many are on edge. Our politics are inflamed, and social media only adds to the anxiety. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm, not a Nazi salute. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace, perhaps even the benefit of the doubt, and take a breath. This is a new beginning. Let's hope for healing and work toward unity in the months and years ahead.
Palestinian American, openly Palestinian. I was closeted for 30 years and finally came out last year with the Hadids. People always ask me, what is it the Palestinians want? It's very simple. They want the right of return to their homeland that most of them fled in 1948. So simple. It's 3 words. Right of return. R-O-R. Roar. Not rare. Roar. And there's one country that could help them achieve that. It's this country. It's also the country that's not doing that for political reasons. It's hard to joke about this. I made a joke that I put online. I said, of course the United States is not going to support Palestinian right of return, because if we did, we'd suddenly owe Native Americans a country. Right? Joke did about the same on YouTube. One guy clapping in the front. Most people were very angry. One guy commented in all caps. Either he was angry or his caps lock button was broken. Sees my right of return bit and he decides to comment, I hope you go back to where you came from. I was like, this guy gets it.